They approached him quietly, waiting for the right moment after the long walk when the others were distracted. James and John, brothers, sons of Zebedee, part of the inner circle who had seen more than most, had a request. Not a small one, but one that would reveal how little they yet understood the kingdom Jesus was bringing. They came near and said, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask." That line alone reveals everything. It wasn't an innocent question. It was an attempt to secure favor, to gain position. They wanted assurance before they even said what they wanted. And Jesus, patient as always, looked at them and asked, "What do you want me to do for you?" They said, "Let one of us sit at your right hand and the other at your left in your glory." Their words hung heavy in the air. They thought they were asking for honor, for closeness, for recognition of their loyalty. But what they were really asking for was something no one could understand except Jesus himself, to share in his suffering, not just his glory. Because the road to his throne would pass through a cross. The request of James and John wasn't unusual by human standards. They were ambitious, hopeful, even courageous. They truly believed Jesus was the Messiah, and they expected the kingdom of God to come visibly, with power and rule. In their minds, it was logical. Every kingdom has a king, and every king has places of honor beside him. So they wanted to be near him, to sit beside him in his victory. They didn't see that the glory he spoke of wasn't a golden throne, but a wooden cross. Jesus' response was calm, but piercing. "You don't know what you are asking," he said. "Can you drink the cup I drink, or be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with?" They replied quickly, "We can." It's almost heartbreaking. They said it with confidence, maybe even pride, but without understanding what it meant. The cup Jesus spoke of was not celebration, but suffering. The baptism was not water, but anguish. He was asking, "Can you share in my pain, my rejection, my sacrifice?" And still they answered, "We can." Jesus didn't mock their ignorance. Instead, he told them gently, "You will drink the cup I drink and be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with." He knew they would suffer for his name. James would later be martyred by the sword. John would live long but face exile, persecution, and loss. They would share his pain, just not the way they expected. But, Jesus continued, "To sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared." It's such a profound reminder. Greatness in God's kingdom cannot be claimed, it must be given. It's not earned through ambition, but received through humility. When the other 10 disciples heard about this, they were indignant. Not because they were more spiritual, but because they were jealous. They too wanted those places of honor. The same desire was in all their hearts. So Jesus called them together and gave one of the most important teachings about leadership, humility, and true greatness ever spoken. "You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them," he said, "and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you." Those words cut across every culture, every era, every ego. Instead, he continued, "Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all." And then he gave the reason that forever redefined what greatness means. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. This moment changed everything. The disciples had been walking with Jesus for years. They had seen miracles, heard sermons, and experienced divine revelation. But this teaching revealed something deeper, the very heart of God. In the world's eyes, greatness is about power, recognition, control. But in God's eyes, greatness is about humility, service, and love. James and John wanted thrones. Jesus offered them a cross. They wanted status. Jesus offered sacrifice. They wanted to rule. Jesus offered them a towel. Because the true king came not to demand service, but to serve others. Imagine that scene. Jesus standing among his friends, dusty from the road, surrounded by men arguing over who was greatest. And with complete calm, he said, "Not so with you." Those 4 words are the foundation of Christian leadership. They are the call to live differently, to love differently, to lead differently. He was showing them that the kingdom of God operates on an entirely different scale of value. In the world, people climb higher to feel important. In the kingdom, we go lower to lift others up. In the world, power is used to dominate. In the kingdom, power is used to heal. Jesus' own life was the perfect example. He washed the feet of his followers, ate with the poor, touched lepers, and forgave sinners. The one who created the universe stooped to serve those who didn't deserve it. That's real glory. The irony is that James and John would indeed see him in his glory, but not the way they imagined. When Jesus was crucified, there were two others, one on his right and one on his left. Not disciples, but thieves. One mocked him, the other believed. That was the moment of true glory, when love conquered sin and mercy triumphed over judgment. James and John had asked for seats beside him in his glory, and perhaps later they realized what that truly meant. To be near Jesus in glory is to be near him in suffering, in service, in surrender. Jesus wasn't angry at their request. He understood it came from human misunderstanding. But he wanted to reshape their vision, to teach them that the path to greatness is the path of giving. It's a message the church still needs today. We live in a world obsessed with success, recognition, and influence. Even in faith communities, it's easy to measure worth by visibility, titles, or platforms. But Jesus' words still whisper across time. Not so with you. True greatness is found not in how many people serve you, but in how many you serve. Think about it. Every lasting impact in this world has come from someone who gave, not someone who took. From those who knelt, not those who climbed. Jesus' teaching here isn't just about leadership. It's about life. It's about families, workplaces, friendships. Every relationship changes when we stop asking, what can I gain? And start asking, how can I serve? That's the heart of Jesus. That's the kingdom of God. This story also reminds us how patient he is with our ambitions. He didn't reject James and John. He redirected them. And that's what he does with us. He takes our human desire for greatness and reshapes it into something holy. A desire to reflect his character, to serve others, to pour ourselves out for the sake of love. James and John eventually became men of deep humility. They learned what Jesus meant. They lived it. They led by serving. And they discovered that the more they gave, the more they received. There's a lesson for all of us here, especially when we're tempted to measure our value by our position. Jesus teaches that worth is not about where you sit, but who you serve. The greatest in God's kingdom are not the most visible, but the most faithful. They are the ones who forgive quietly, love consistently, pray secretly, and give generously. The world may not notice them, but heaven does. When Jesus said he came to give his life as a ransom for many, he was revealing the ultimate act of service. He wasn't just teaching this principle, he was living it. He would lay down his life so that others could live. That is divine greatness, the power to save through self-giving love. The story of James and John also shows how the road of discipleship transforms ambition into compassion. They began by wanting glory, but ended by giving everything for others. And isn't that the journey of faith for all of us? We start by wanting God to bless us, to give us position, comfort, or favor. But as we walk with Jesus, we begin to see that the greatest blessing is not what we receive, but what we become. We become like him, servants of love, bearers of peace, reflections of grace. This passage from Mark 10 isn't about rebuke, it's about redefinition. It takes the human desire for meaning and turns it toward divine purpose. It reminds us that the path to true greatness begins with humility and ends with love. When Jesus said the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, he invited us into a way of life that still changes the world. Because service, when done with love, has eternal impact. The disciples learned that lesson slowly, but once they did, they turned the world upside down. They led not with power, but with prayer, not with demands, but with sacrifice. And through them, the message of Jesus spread across nations and centuries. So when you feel overlooked or unrecognized, remember this: God sees the servants. He sees the hidden acts of kindness, the quiet faithfulness, the love that expects nothing in return. Heaven's measure of greatness is not the height of your platform, but the depth of your heart. James and John wanted to sit beside Jesus in glory. In the end, they found something better. They learned to walk beside him in love. And that's the same invitation he gives us today. To follow him, not for power, but for purpose. Not for recognition, but for relationship. Not to be served, but to serve. Because when you live like that, you don't just reflect Jesus, you reveal him. Thank you for watching this message. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and follow Holy Path Insights. Let Jesus' words remind you that true greatness is found not in what we claim, but in how we love. Keep walking with humility, serving with grace, and trusting that every act of service, no matter how small, shines in the eyes of God.